Welcome to Northlandia, a place to bring your curiosity because here you'll find curiosities. I'm Wyatt Buckner of the Duluth News Tribune, and I will be your guide as we discover the unique and fascinating stories here in the Northland. Here we celebrate the region's distinctive people, places, and history. In this episode, we look at how 17 Carlton third graders made the blueberry muffin a state symbol. Let's venture forth into Northlandia. Here to tell us all about the Blueberry Muffin Gang of Carlton is reporter Terry Caddo. Terry, welcome back.
Thank you for having me back. Good to be back.
And Terry, we were just talking shortly before this episode that for listeners, we don't typically have any requirements for listening to the show.
Other than bringing their curiosity.
Besides bringing your curiosity. But for this episode, we encourage you to maybe pause the episode and grab a muffin or a blueberry if possible, or any kind of pastry that can satisfy you as we talk about food throughout this episode.
You're going to hear the words blueberry muffin enough times that you're going to start craving one. So it's a recommendation. Yep. I should have brought some for us, but that probably would have been great for the listeners. So
to hear the crumbles of a blueberry muffin.
Yeah, that could be a particular pet peeve for people. But yeah, a recommendation. If you're craving a blueberry muffin, this will just make you crave it even more.
Yep. Feel free to hit pause, grab it, come back. We will wait.
That should be about enough time.
Yeah, that should be enough time. So, Terry, let's get started off. Where'd the story come from?
So this actually came from one of our Northlandia meetings. We were having a meeting about story ideas and what should we plan on coming up next. And I believe it was Jay who had suggested this idea. I think he was looking into Mary Murphy, the late Representative Mary Murphy, and had stumbled upon the story in the archives and had mentioned that it might be a good fodder for a Northlandia story. And I went, yeah, no, absolutely. I will, definitely look into that one.
Mm-hmm. And just to set the scene a little bit, what time period are we looking at here as we're talking about the events of this?
We're looking at 1987 and 1988. So we mentioned that it was 17 third graders. By the time that the bill was signed, they were third graders. So this started out in the South Terrace Elementary School classroom of Carolyn Schroeder. She was teaching about social studies and Minnesota's state symbols. And they saw a news story about a class in Massachusetts who had campaigned for and had won the addition of the corn muffin to Massachusetts state symbols. And Carolyn went, that's an interesting idea. So she asked her class, okay, if you were to choose a muffin that symbolized the state of Minnesota, what muffin would you choose? Well, this is a bunch of 7th and 8-year-olds. So they came up with a bunch of ideas. A lot of them were based around chocolate and chocolate chips.
Understandable.
Deliciousness.
Mm-hmm.
She does say, and this will come up later, and you'll see why she says this. None of them mentioned the word bran. Nobody said anything about a bran muffin. But eventually, they had settled as a group on blueberry because a lot of the children in that school had experienced like going out to blueberry fields with their families and picking blueberries and making blueberry muffins. It was very much a thing. And so she was like, blueberry muffin. That is a good idea. That does represent the state pretty well.
Mm-hmm. As much as I love chocolate, I feel like blueberry probably fits a little bit better in terms of Minnesota.
Right. I mean, there's a lot more blueberry fields than there are chocolate fields.
That's fair.
I say as if that's how chocolate's... Anyway. No, but...
Not wrong.
I know. Anyway, we're not exactly Pennsylvania. Maybe a chocolate chip muffin would make sense for some place like Pennsylvania, where Hershey, Pennsylvania is. But
I don't know. I guess that makes sense. I'll take your word for it otherwise.
I digress. Blueberry fits to her thinking, and she kind of thought that would pretty much be it. But the kids went home and told their families about their day in school, and one of the kids was the superintendent's son, who then happened to know Mary Murphy. So he suggested to Carolyn, hey, that is a really good idea. Maybe you should have your students write letters to Mary Murphy about this, and our other state legislators. And so it's exactly what they did. And Mary Murphy, being a school teacher, was really kind of honored and touched by it, and also agreed that it was a very good idea. So she wanted to teach the kids about governance and how the government works. So she started pursuing it.
And so from there, how did it actually become the state muffin? Yeah. I imagine there's some hoops and stuff to jump through.
Yeah. So like I said, this it started in 87, but it wasn't until 88 that it became a thing, because they had written in May of that 1987 year. So it was they were in the middle of legislature happening, but it was too late to introduce new pieces of of bills and legislature, so they couldn't really get it in that year. But Mary Murphy had gotten the class a commendation for recommending it, and so they were really honored by that. They're like, okay, that's really nice. Again, kind of thought that it would be the end of it, and then the next year, Mary Murphy introduced a bill to make the blueberry muffin the state muffin, and it picked back up again. So Carolyn started meeting with her class of now third graders on the recess, like on the playground at recess sometimes, to be like, okay, so here's what's happening. Here's the update. Keep writing those letters. Keep doing drawings of muffins to send to the different people. And they ended up actually going and visiting the state capitol. They brought homemade blueberry muffins to hand out to all the people who were in the capitol that day.
Excellent way to bribe the state legislature with muffins.
Is it a
Not
bribe,
actually
or is it
bribe,
just
because that's
proving the point.
I mean, we're talking about third graders giving muffins, so I think bribe is okay
I think
term
it's
to use
okay.
in this situation.
There's no money being hedged around. I think it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have to take it if you didn't want it. It's okay. No. And so they actually got to see like what was happening at the Capitol that day. They met with like the governor. The governor said it was a delicious idea. So they're like, okay, good. Governor was on board. This is good. Because, Perpich grew up picking blueberries as well. Like that's a strong memory that he said that he had as well. So everyone was kind of like, okay, this is good. Except there were people who were upset for two different reasons. There were people who were very much like, this is a waste of taxpayer time and money. Like, why are we even taking the time to like hear this bill be a thing? So there are people who are very upset on that front. And then there's a different group of people who were like, hey, what about bran muffins? Those should be our state symbol. That should be it. We should have bran. Bran is the thing. Bran is so much healthier than blueberry muffins. And also, like, I think they thought it just fit the state better because of, I don't know, maybe the grain reasons, because we're a big grain state, but I mean we make flour too, and that goes into blueberry muffins as well. But there was one I don't remember if it was a representative or senator, but there was one person who had tried to kind of appease both sides to be like, well, what if we made the state symbol a blueberry bran muffin? And he told that to this group of like third graders, and they're immediately like, no, thank you. So he's like, okay, fine. I guess it's going to be a war between bran and blueberry then. And so, yeah, despite people being kind of upset about it, Mary Murphy did a good job of like fielding those calls and issues and saying, okay, it's worth doing this for this like group of 17 third graders, if nothing else. Like, it's a good state symbol. She thought it was a good fit. But also, like, the experience that these kids are learning by seeing this process and, like, having it almost go through and then not, and then seeing what it's like for a bit to go from, like, an inception to a conclusion is worthwhile. Mm-hmm. So eventually, it gets passed, and Governor Rudy Perpich keeps his promise, and so he does officially sign the bill at the State House, but he does then keep his promise and travel to the elementary school and does a signing event there in front of everyone. So they served like blueberry muffins, and they all got together in the gym of that elementary school and celebrated together.
Mm-hmm. So this might be a silly question, but what happens now that the blueberry muffin is in fact the state muffin? Has anything happened?
It's a symbol of the state, which means, I think we see a lot of like state symbols get used during things like the state fair. So because the blueberry muffins thing, you might see things like that pop up. Also, there was an official recipe that was chosen and is put into like the files at the state legislature. They actually keep. I discovered this while I was doing this story that they keep a record of any of the recommended and or accepted proposed like state symbols. So even if it was like a ridiculous suggestion, they keep it on file. So just know that if you're going to be like, hey, we should have the state this for the thing, and it's, I don't know, some ridiculous thing, they're gonna keep a record of that.
That made me think though, like I was curious about like, I wonder if there's any foods at this Minnesota State Fair this year that are new that are blueberry themed.
I don't know. It's a good question.
Only because it actually is. This is the week that it starts.
Yeah.
At least in terms of the article, listeners of just the podcast, it would have been out. Like I think it started last Thursday.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So you have to keep an eye out for blueberry themed items down there.
Because I think this is a big reason why we see that be a thing, is because it's a state symbol, blueberry muffins.
Mm-hmm. So, and I'm curious, was the name Blueberry Muffin Gang from Carlton like a real name, like for the group?
That's what they called themselves. It's when they gathered together, that's what they called themselves, because they after the second grade year, all the students went into different classes in third grade, so they kind of had to gather together. So they need to call themselves something. Why not the Blueberry Muffin Gang?
From Carlton.
From Carlton.
Don't get confused with from another
Any of those
city
other
or
Blueberry
state.
Muffin Gangs out there.
And that makes me wonder how many other Blueberry Muffin Gangs are out there.
I mean, maybe they put it into a website and they're like, oh, dang, it's already... No, I'm kidding.
I'm just imagining like a group of 9-year-olds or 9-year-olds.
7, 8-year-olds.
7, 8-year-olds, yeah. They're like, yeah, we're the Blueberry Muffin Gang. And then someone in the back goes, from Carlton.
Well, now everyone in that gang is in like their early to mid 40s. So
that's true.
That is a thing.
Were you able to find any of them?
I tried to track some people down. I hit a lot of dead ends, so that was unfortunate. I really wanted to try and find. I was very happy that I found the teacher, Carolyn Schroeder, and I was able to talk to her. That was a kind of an interesting. That was just literally. She works now for Companies to Classrooms, and I've done several stories on that organization, as well as she's involved in like the Duluth Monarch Buddies. So I was like, oh, I wonder if the Carolyn Schroeder in my like email files is the same one. So I sent an email out there just to be like, hey, this you? And she was like, yep, that's me. I can answer any questions you like. And I'm like, okay, great.
It's one of those connections where it makes the region start to feel a little bit smaller in terms of like, people being connected in weird, obscure ways that you've worked with before. Oh, wait, you're also this person with this? And
I love it. I love those connections. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we may have a lot of listeners who had Mary Murphy as like a teacher here in Duluth because she taught at Central for many, many years. So that's another connection. And as well as she was the longest serving female representative for the state and possibly even more than that. So
that's true.
Yeah.
Very true.
We unfortunately just lost her this past Christmas Day.
Was it on Christmas Day?
It was.
Oh, geez. Mm-hmm. Well, trying to bring it back to muffins.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it before. If you're out there, if you were part of the Blueberry Muffin Gang and you're listening to this, reach out to Terry. I'm sure she'd love to hear from you.
I would do a follow-up. Don't tempt me with a good time. I would love to talk to anyone who'd be like, hey, I was one of those kids. Great. Please call me.
Love to hear about any other
or email me
group rivalries concerning maybe there was a brand muffin gang or
oh man, if there's anyone out there in the brand muffin side who's just like, no, I still believe this is correct. I mean, I'm willing to hear you out.
I'm just imagining like these.
They were never
kids.
named. There was nobody ever actually like named as being from the brand muffin side in the stories that I read. Granted, they were all from Duluth, like the Duluth News Tribune archives. So granted, they may have been a little more skewed towards the kids. But I really want to, curious if that's who that is out there.
I'm just trying to imagine like, a bunch of kids going down there and like, we want to make the blueberry muffin, the state muffin. And then people respond with, but brand muffin though.
Clearly brand is superior. I mean, is it? Though?
And so, Terry, as you love this question every episode, how do you feel like this fits into Northlandia?
I mean, it's a group of people coming up with an idea that they think is good and seeing it through to the end. I feel like that's the theme of a lot of our different Northlandia stories, is a group of people having an idea, pushing through, even though there's some difficulties or pushbacks, and making something great. And I think a blueberry muffin, honestly, pretty great.
Do you imagine a reality where it was a brand muffin? Would it much be different?
It's not
less
as
whimsical.
Fun.
No, that's true.
It's not as fun. Like, I can't see, again, going back to that idea of like maybe state fair foods or something like that. I can't see like brand becoming the big thing at the state fair. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
You can get, there's some creative foods down the state fair. You never know.
Sure.
I mean,
but like fried brand muffin?
I don't know. I mean, last time Jay and I went down there for cover in 2023, there was crispy lutefisk steam buns. That was an experience.
Granted, yeah, to be fair, I've not been to the state fair, so maybe that's part of why I can't imagine. I just can't see brand becoming that big of a thing down there. I just can't.
My point being, there's just like the state fair finds a way. They find a way for
like
weird
raisin
things.
Bran and then make it into, I don't know. That seems like a stretch.
Yeah. Now I gotta look into what they got for blueberries down there. I'm curious now.
Yeah. We gotta see.
Well, Terry, thanks so much. I think we'll wrap up there. Thanks so much for joining. But before we go, though, I want to talk a little bit about a special upcoming project that we've been working on at the News Tribune. Our colleague, Jay Gabler, has teased this a couple times on this podcast, I believe. But he's been hard at work leading a special limited podcast series commemorating the 50th anniversary of one of the greatest tragedies to occur on the Great Lakes. Here's the trailer for Edmund Fitzgerald, 50 Years Below.
Well, it's like the Edmund Fitzgerald. They came by a couple of times every week. They're familiar names. They're kind of like family.
When the Fitzgerald left Superior, it was a nice day. I knew there was a storm coming up, but there's storms all the time on Lake Superior.
I was at the television station, of course, preparing the 10 o'clock news, which was going to go on the air late that night because of Monday Night Football. I got a phone call from a woman in Superior who asked if I knew anything about a ship sinking in Lake Superior. I asked her when, and she said, I think it's tonight. No, but I'll check it out.
You know the name. You've heard the song. You know the number. 29 men were lost when the Edmund Fitzgerald was overcome by the gales of November 50 years ago. But do you know the rest of the story?
It held a lot of titles, so to speak. And for it to disappear as quickly as it did, for not to really any of the investigators to come to any solid conclusion as to why it sank, and then there was controversy there.
The Duluth News Tribune has been close to this story from the beginning, and now we're looking back as the world marks a half-century since the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. In this limited podcast, we will tell the story of the Fitzgerald from its launch to its loss, and we will also explore its legacy. You'll hear from people like John Crowley, who was on the cutter Woodrush, heading out of Duluth at full speed to search for the Edmund Fitzgerald.
You had a northeaster out there, and a northeaster running down Lake Superior, particularly this last run down to the Duluth area. That's down the gut. And right at the end of the gut, where is it? It's at the lift bridge and where you sail out of. And so just going through under the bridge there, you had swell starting to build.
You'll learn more about mysteries and controversies that still surround the wreck.
I'm of the mind that the hatch cover theory was the Coast Guard's way of kind of putting the blame on people that are no longer alive to dispute it, as opposed to a company that might be able to do some stuff with some money.
We'll also ask how this Lake Superior sinking became one of the most famous shipwrecks in history, and why it continues to rivet people around the world.
Here and there, I've had a person give me a comment, that song, that life, he taking advantage and making his millions off of people who died. And boy, oh boy, do I ever give them a lecture. Not in an angry way, but I'll say, here's some things you do not understand.
Edmund Fitzgerald, 50 Years Below, will be released in 5 episodes this fall, starting October 13th and leading up to November 10th, 2025. Watch DuluthNewsTribune.com for articles, images, and videos that expand the story.
The wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald is a wreck that now has come to mean all ships on the Great Lakes, all of them now are wrapped into the legend of the Fitzgerald.
You'll be able to find the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. It's a big team project involving many of our editors, both digital producer Dan Williams and I for audio engineering, and even you, Terry. You get to be one of the various voice of the archives in the show.
Yay!
A little bit of a tonal shift from talking about the Blueberry Muffin Gang from Carlton.
Just a little bit. Maybe just, a smidge. But I'm excited. I'm excited to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a big project. Jay's been working on it for kind of like a year plus now.
About that, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a long time. So check it out. And I'm sure next time Jay's on, we'll talk about more then as well. Mm-hmm. But until then, thanks so much for joining.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for joining us in this venture into Northlandia. To read the article for this week's column, visit DuluthNewsTribune.com/topic/Northlandia. If you enjoy this podcast and would like to support us, consider becoming a subscriber of Duluth News Tribune at duluthnewstribune.com/subscribe. Join us again next time and discover the extraordinary stories that you just might miss. You're on the right place at the right time, ready to step off the beaten path of the rush to return, here in Northlandia.